What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rum Pure Sports Week 17 preview show. We'll break down the Week 17 slate on, kind of like a first look basis, go through the pricing, see if anything stands out, talk about some injuries that might pop up this week with the COVID stuff, and then look at the games and any games that might stand out as being appealing for DFS purposes or sports betting purposes as well. Before we hop into all that, as always, joined by my two boys, Mangone, Title, both on the road this week, traveling, joining us from different locations. Title, we'll go to you first. What's going on over there?
Yeah, on the road, back home in Wisconsin for right now. Yesterday was a really gross football game. I feel like almost every primetime game we have nowadays is just gross. It was not profitable over here. Got a good NBA slate, though, today. You guys, I know, will be on the hardwood. More games than usual on a Tuesday. We'll go through the stuff. We'll recap the Millie. A lot's going to change probably from now until Sunday when we plug in lineups. But give a first look. There's 14 games on the slate this week. We have no Thursday games. So it's a bigger main slate than usual. So it should be fun.
Yeah, bigger main slate. There's a lot of big time spreads too. And man, these primetime games have been super painful. And, we're kind of talking before, like if you don't have any action on these games, I don't know like how you sit down and say, all right, I'm just going to sit down and watch this Dolphins Saints game. Even if you did do that, like you'd have to turn it off at halftime. It was a brutal watch last night. Just tough to sit down and enjoy those games without any action. And then it makes it even worse when you do have action on it. You sit, you watch it, you get dusted. I got dusted last night, and you watch the shittiest game of your life. It's a tough scene out there, Mangone. I know you got family stuff going on, so maybe you were able to escape it. Did you submit yourself to that nasty, gross game last night?
No, this is what happened, Hoop. Funny you say if you have no action on it. So I had action. I didn't play a lot. NBA just poured too much into it. There was a lot going on in NBA. So, but I had just one team, and at halftime and the second half started, my uncle, zero action on it. He said, all right, I'm going to bed. And it was after a really horrific play, right? So if you do have no action on it, you are turning it off. Like I would love to know what the views are as it goes down. Like as Ian Book throws like a horrendous pass, how many people turn the game off? Because man, it was really, really tough to watch that game last night. But yeah, I'm on the road too. Good times here. Has a good start to the day and ready for, NFL, NBA. Got a long day of shows. Got the bet show coming up. Got the show with you later on. So excited to dive in and get those winners and get this week going.
Ooh, yeah, Travis Duarte's asked you, is it snowing by you? Because right now I'm looking out my window and it's coming down pretty good over here. It's supposed to be a lot of snow today. Is it by you as well?
We got snow on the ground. It's kind of it snowed last night. Some ice. So yeah, we're kind of getting into that wintry mix type thing. It's supposed to snow today. So yeah, it's probably the same system.
I have avoided that today. I hit the beach. I hit the dog beach. I had a nice lobster roll. I mean, it's been we're living life down here. And let me tell you, Hoop, the COVID doesn't exist down here. It's actually different.
Been like that for a while. Florida, just a ideal spot to be. I'm very, very jealous of you. That is for sure. Living the dream down there in Florida. Well, me and Title are dealing with the elements, dealing with the COVID bullshit, and man, you're living large down there in Florida. Very jealous. First look at the slate, a ton of low totals and big spreads. I mean, we have the Bills favored by 14.5, Patriots favored by 15.5, Bucks favored by 13, and 49ers favored by 12.5. And there's no totals over 50. All right, 51 in that Cowboys game. So the Cowboys Cardinals 51. That's the highest total on the slate. Mangone, like what does that tell you about this DFS slate? But we do have 14 games, I guess, so maybe a little bit different there.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be wild, right? Because we have a lot of games. I mean, listen, I don't know what like the chalk is going to be this week, but whatever the chalk is, right? Like in tournaments, there's probably some merit to maybe moving all of it because there's just so many games. There's so many routes that could end up working out. So I'm curious to see how it all kind of shakes out. We have some like spots on this slate that seem like just like easy plug and plays. I mean, like the Bucks against the Jets. Like, how do the Bucks fail against the Jets? I mean, we've been playing the Jaguars players against the Jets just last week. So how do we not play Bucks? It does seem like a really, standard week, a lot of good spots for guys. The Bills against the Falcons. We know the Bills, they'll be able to put up points. So it'll be an interesting week, but it's all going to depend on like who is in and out based on some of the COVID stuff, right? Like you have no Carson Wentz in the Colts. Like that's a problem. I mean, whoever the backup's going to be there, it's like, playing a defense there could be a good spot, or some of the other guys, because then you're gonna get short field situations. So it's all going to be about monitoring the news. It's just, that's how it is right now. It's hard to build an NFL lineup on Friday night. It feels like you have to even wait till Saturday to really get diving in on it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're really going all the way up to lock. And years past, and you could build something on, Tuesday, Wednesday, and come Sunday, you're pretty close to that. Now there's just no chance. Talk to me about these games. A lot of big spreads, low totals. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, 14 games, only one total above 50. It also means like December football, we always talk about it. The later you go, you got to monitor like dome games. They definitely get a big bump, or if you're in Tampa or wherever the warm weather is. So weather is something you should always be looking at Sunday morning. Actually made a swap. I saw the snow game, Seattle and the Bears. I thought Dave Montgomery was still a good play. I said, why even mess with the snow, blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting there, but it's definitely something you should have a part of your process. One game above 50. So much is going to change with news-wise, as we've seen. So it's not worth going too much into all this stuff. I will say one price that stands out, Antonio Brown on DraftKings, still 6.1K.
It's just stupid. I mean, last week was dumb. I mean, the 4-9 was silly. And, clearly he looked amazing. Has a great connection with Tom Brady. What did they put him to? 6-1 or something?
Yep. 6.1K.
Just stupid.
So, I mean, right now, I'm going to say plug and play right now, but who knows, as the week goes on. But some prices still don't make sense. The injury news, like when Eckler went down and Mike Williams and blah, 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 like there's Palmer, Jackson, stuff like that's going to happen. The cash chart, core plays, playbook reflects all that.
Yep, certainly. Before we get into breaking down the pricing on the slate, we're going to kind of do a review of the Millie Maker winning lineup last week. And, obviously, what you needed last week to win. It was Bengals, and you needed heavy exposure to the Bengals. The guy that took down the Millie Maker had 4 Bengals on his team, which, could be not great roster construction for, so he had Burrow, he had Chase and Higgins, and then Joe Mixon as well. I mean, typically that's a little bit too much from one team, but obviously it worked out with a lot of low scoring games last week, and the Bengals being the one team that just went off. You needed all those pieces. So you got Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Higgins, ran it back with Andrew. So to win any GPP this week, you needed Burrow, you needed Higgins. Most likely you needed Mark Andrews as the run back. The guy that won the Millie here added in Joe Mixon, who got 31.5, and also added in Jamar Chase, who got 22.5, where a lot of these big names, Cooper Kupp had a solid game, didn't get the touchdown. Same as Justin Jefferson. Big game, like 7 or 8 catches, 100 yards, did not get the touchdown. So a lot of guys that kind of underperformed. So he was able to get by with four Bengals guys. Mark Andrews as the run back. I'll go to you first, Mangone. Thoughts on the 4-man stack here with the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, the real key with the Bengals this week is that you just needed them because of like what it did for your entire lineup. Like, first of all, Joe Burrow absolutely broke it, and you just needed to have at least 2 of the guys, and you didn't have random touchdowns, right? You didn't have a Bengals defense or the special teams score. You didn't have a CJ Uzoma. It was just Mixon. It was the receivers, and it was Burrow, and it was just that simple. And their price tags were all pretty good too, right? It gave you a little bit of a slight differentiation build where you still were able to get some of the other good plays with it as well. So, and other spots just completely busted, right? I mean, the Chargers didn't completely bust, but they were okay. The Rams, they were a bit rough, but a lot of teams without Matthew Stafford, they had Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp was kind of just raw points. So, it was definitely a really, really interesting week. And also tight end too. Tight end kind of got sunk from some spots. And when that position sinks and you have the spot where it just goes absolutely off, which it's why I think correlating a tight end in your stack and not playing a chalk tight end makes a lot of sense at times. Mark Andrews just made a lot of sense there in that stack. So ultimately it was a really good setup, really good team. And I mean, it was one of those weeks where it was a bit gross. And if you just condensed on one game, it wasn't the worst route to go. And I think you are going to see at times where that route really works when it's like there's some chalk that's like maybe shouldn't be chalk on the week.
Yeah. And then the additional plays outside of the Bengals and Ravens game, Justin Jackson, who you obviously needed 4.2K. I mean, I thought he was like a lock on the slate. All our content basically led to that direction where you just played Justin Jackson at 4.2K. He obviously had the monster game at 35 fantasy points. Braxton Berrios, 8% owned, got 15 fantasy points. And then the key here was obviously Damian Harris. I don't know if this was a priority play. I'm assuming Damian Harris just kind of fit and he played him. 31 fantasy points. This team had to be close to like just the best possible lineup that you could build this week. I think it won by 5 points and then was like 12 points ahead of third. So just a phenomenal overall team. Eagles defense got him 16 as well, 268.5 points to take down the Millie Maker title. Overall thoughts here on this lineup.
Yeah, pretty insane lineup. He only had 4 teams too, so very impressive. You needed the Bengals, obviously. Excuse me. The big thing is like, yeah, the triple stack. So like, it makes sense. I think you played Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, who's a stud, T Higgins, who's a stud, Joe Mixon is a stud, and all their prices were fine. So if a game shoots out, you can see them getting there. I triple stack sometimes, not nearly too much. We don't see it work too much. So I assume a lot of people kind of went away from it since the beginning of the year, and they were getting this triple stack pretty low owned. The last time I can remember the Chiefs week 1, I think a triple stack maybe worked. I know Tyreek and Kelsey and Mahomes went off. I'm not sure if one other one did too, but we haven't really seen triple stacks win it too much. But why this lineup made so much sense and worked is because, as Mangone said, the run back, Mark Andrews, tight end was absolutely awful this week. So just correlating the tight end position in your game stack, spending up and overspending for someone people aren't playing made a ton of sense. And people were scared of Mark Andrews with the quarterback situation, but he's been so steady the past couple of weeks, whether it was Huntley, whether it was Lamar Johnson. I mean, he just has been getting there. So sub 10%, Mark Andrews breaking the slate at tight end. He gets the kick return from Braxton Berrios, 103 yards. If he didn't get that kick return, he would have taken second. So that's pretty crazy to see. Eagles defense got there. Damian Harris, I mean, we saw this matchup 2 weeks ago against the Bills. The Bills struggled to stop the run. He just kept getting fed. Maybe that had something to do with it a little bit. It looks like a hand-built team, I'm guessing, with only 4 entries, but everything worked out. I mean, triple stack, the run back, Justin Jackson, chalk in a good spot, Eagles D in a good spot, Braxton Berrios, Damian Harris, 2 low-owned guys. I mean, it's a good lineup. Congrats to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, just great. Like, kind of weird. I mean, you look at a lot of guys between like 13 and 8% owned. Like everyone's like kind of in that 10% range. But yeah, I mean, the highest owned clearly Justin Jackson, who I thought was the lock of the slate. But yeah, congratulations to B Morella 3. Great team, great victory. Good way to end the year, win $1 million. So congratulations to him. Before we move into the position breakdown, please do us that favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us to continue to bring you guys these shows for free on a weekly and daily basis. Also, I wanted to shout out some of our members that had some big wins last week. Another week where we see almost $2 million in winnings from our coordinators and members. 1.9 million was the number. So we continue to see success at the same rate, usually between 1.5 and 2.5 million. Last week, right in the middle there at 1.9 million. This week, a couple of our coordinators had some big wins. Our boy Dunkel doesn't dabble much in the DFS streets. Guy that runs our sports betting content, $40,000 win. Congratulations to him. Big T back on a heater. You know what happens when Big T starts to win slates? He keeps winning, and we saw it last week. $150,000 in NFL shipped again last night. Dude is just crushing. So congratulations to our boy Big T. Quick on the Cribs. That's an interesting name. Quick on the Cribs. $24,000 in NFL. So congratulations to Quick on the Cribs. Man, these names are Tway Rich, $35,000 in NFL. Congratulations to him. Our boy D-Rock used to be a coordinator over here at Rumpier Sports. Had to step away for a little bit. $24,000 in NBA. Congratulations to our boy D-Rock. We know he'll do good with that money. Big T, another win in NBA, $100,000. You're going to see more of this when Big T gets hot. He continues to win and ship slates. If you remember at Run Pure Sports, you get Big T's player pool for every slate that Big T plays, which is just a massive, massive benefit for the members at Run Pure Sports. As I said, all the content on our website is included under our membership. That includes Big T's player pool. Big T's on a heater. When Big T's on a heater, you want to be playing the same guys that Big T's playing. Right now is a good time to join and check out Big T's player pool for each and every slate. Joseph Schwartz, $215,000 in NFL. Things are heating up here at Run Pure Sports. Make sure to come on over and check us out. We got that partnership going with SaberSim. You can get a combo pack, all RPS content, and the SaberSim Optimizer for one low price. The SaberSim Optimizer is, we're working closely with their engineers right now to get some of our content right smack dab on the SaberSim Optimizer. It's going to be a game changer if you're someone that, builds anywhere from 3 to 150 teams on any given slate. So come on over, check us out. All right, let's get into the pricing on this slate, just kind of like a first look thing. As we said, a lot's going to change. A lot will change this week. There's going to be some big names ruled out. We're just strictly going to look at the pricing and kind of talk about some injuries that might impact guys this week. We'll start on DraftKings. We'll start at quarterback. And, our guy Josh Allen is staring us right in the face again this week. He's 8K. The Bills need to win. I think the Bills are an overrated team. That's fine. I think Josh Allen's still a phenomenal play at 8K. We have a pretty significant injury at the position. It sounds like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to miss. That'll leave Trey Lance, 4.8K on DraftKings, in a really, really good spot against the Houston Texans. Yes, Houston beat Chargers last week. Shocked that happened. I don't expect him to hang with the 49ers here on the road. Trey Lance, 4.8K. Dak Prescott looked phenomenal last week. He's 6.7K. Those are kind of a few of the names. Obviously, there's more, but those are kind of some of the standout prices to me this week. Mangone, I'll toss it over to you. Thoughts here, DraftKings quarterback.
Yeah, let's kick it off at quarterback with Trey Lance because, he gets the Texans, and the Texans are definitely a team that, hey, Trey Lance is – you're not going to see him just mail it in the fourth quarter, right? He needs to get reps. This is a guy that they might need to lean on in the postseason, and this team has to, just win. So I think that – Trey Lance is definitely someone that I'm going to be considering very highly at that spot. It's nice to kind of get a spend down quarterback. I feel like spend down quarterbacks has been better this year, and I wish I would have done a little bit more, but I think it's a good spot for Trey Lance. Definitely someone I'm going to consider. Of course, Josh Allen at the top at 8K against the Atlanta. He definitely makes some sense. I want to know what that weather is going to be, so that'll be important. Tom Brady, we know, can easily dominate the Jets. We know he's down to run up the score against the Jets. Always has been, always will be. It just depends if you, want to go with the running backs, right? Because I think that there are some opportunity there to attack the Jets with the running backs instead and get your exposure that way. Joe Burrow against Kansas City. You can definitely make an argument for him. I know the Kansas City defense has played a little bit better, but I think Burrow's fine. I think Herbert isn't a bad option at 6.8K at home in the Dome. And you got Dak Prescott at 6.72 against Arizona. And I think Arizona is a team that I'm willing to target. So there's a lot of guys in different ranges, even Jalen Hurts, 6.6. You can easily go back to him. I know he kind of disappointed last week, but he is playing Washington. We know you can beat up Washington through the air. And we know Jalen Hurts is willing to run. So I think overall, there's a lot of different routes that you can go to right now. And again, it's a big week. There's going to be a lot of different plays. The cash chart might be a little more crowded than normal, but we're going to have so many games. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go at quarterback. And I don't think it's a week where you need to prioritize one guy over the other because there will be a lot of value because of all the COVID stuff. And I think that you're not just going to go into this week and be like, I'm definitely spending down or I'm definitely spending up at quarterback. I think it's a position that you can kind of choose freely based on how the running back and receiver position goes for you.
Yep, I definitely agree with you. Title over on FanDuel, kind of the same names that stand out to me. I have a pretty good idea where you're going, although that could I think it's a little tougher this week. There are some cheaper options. Josh Allen at 8.8. Trey Lance is all the way down at 6'4", and at 6'4", if he finds the end zone on the ground, he's free rolling the rest of the game. Dak Prescott 7'4". To me, those are the three that kind of stand out. Yes, there's more guys in play, But, Allen, Lance, Prescott, I think are very strong options. Thoughts, FanDuel quarterback?
Yeah, I agree. Josh Allen up top, 8-8. He's my favorite right now, raw points wise. He gets Atlanta, who's awful. He has rushing upside. They need a win, like you said. We do have to monitor weather in Buffalo, though. You never know. It's December. We see they can get nasty there. But I like Allen at 8-8. It's not a priority, though. Below him, I'll add Justin Herbert, too. You said 3 names, which I agree. Herbert, 8-2, the $600. He's in a dome as well. But in a range you don't necessarily need because, yeah, Dak 7-4, like that's a misprice, it seems. Coming off a really big game. Now he's in a dome. He gets Arizona, the only total above 50. I think he makes a lot of sense. And then Trey Lance, like you said, he's what, 6.4K on FanDuel. I like Trey Lance too. I think he's good. I love his rushing upside. He's going to be someone that we're going to play a lot in the future, I think. He played once already this year, maybe twice. He put up like 20, I think, FanDuel points. He got a rushing touchdown. He's athletic. He can throw. He has arm strength. He has Debo. He has Kittle. He has guys he can get the ball to that can get yards after catch and make plays too. So I think Lance makes a lot of sense, but it's only $1,000 discount on FanDuel, whereas DraftKings, the salary goes a longer way. So I think I like him more on DraftKings. He's definitely in play on FanDuel, but I wouldn't prioritize any of these quarterbacks right now. I'd probably fill out the other spots left since you have 3 tiers that I like 3 guys a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, we got to see what roster construction looks like this week. There's going to be some big names that miss. Do we get like a stud cheap running back that we have to play? Do we get, a wide receiver that we have to play or tight end? So I like the fact right now I feel good about the position where I see guys at every pricing tier that I'm comfortable playing. And like you said, that kind of leans me towards saying, hey, I'm probably going to be filling out quarterback as one of my last positions this week. But we'll see what happens as the week goes on. Running back position, David Montgomery is kind of popping in optimizers right now. They're at home against this dreadful Giants team. Fair price tag for David Montgomery. He gets almost all the work. He's definitely a strong play. Got Ronald Jones in this dream spot against the Jets, favored by like 14. The Bucs should just smash the Jets. I think he's a strong play this week. Sony Michel getting all the work for the Rams. In a good spot against the Ravens. The Ravens just their defense is not very good. Obviously, we saw last week against the Bengals. You get Jonathan Taylor, if we can go all the way up to the top. No Wentz, but they're going to be leaning on Taylor hard here, like hard. So he's going to have a ton of work. Need to see what happens in Kansas City. Edwards-Helaire, if he does miss, Darrell Williams, I think, is a very fine option this week. Then we got the situation in Philadelphia. Miles Sanders is going to be out. It looks like Jordan Howard is going to be out. Could be Boston Scott's backfield. So a lot to monitor here. David Montgomery is the one guy that does stand out, though. I'd say Ronald Jones is pretty close as well. Title running back here on FanDuel. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you hit it pretty good. Up top, Jonathan Taylor, he's coming off is pretty much the first stinker of the year, it seems like. But without Carson Wentz, you got to expect he gets the ball 30 plus times. I like picking on this Raiders team too with running backs. I think 10K makes sense. And like, if I need Trey Lance to get Jonathan Taylor, I'd be completely fine with that. Not a priority. The best raw points spent up for sure. After that, though, you get a big gap. Like, I'm not going to pay 9K for Eckler. I'd find 1,000. Then you go to the range. The David Montgomery 7-2. I think he makes a lot of sense. He looks good. Ronald Jones 7K. Antonio Gibson 6'8. Josh Jacobs 6'6. All those guys are RB1s in systems that they get the ball kind of a lot and have ceilings. So I think they all are good in the mid range. If you want to go a little lower, I guess like a Devin Singletary. It's a good game script. I doubt I really get there. I assume.
Yeah, I meant to toss his name out there too. I think he is interesting. You look at the work that he's now getting. At least 6 targets in 2 out of the last 3 games. I did want to throw him in the mix. So.
Yeah, Zach Moss with a healthy scratch week 15, and Burrito was a healthy scratch last week. So it's pretty obvious that Singletary's their guy and they want to rely on him. Double-digit point favorites. I think it makes sense. They're going to keep the ball on the ground if they're up a lot. Javonte Williams, but it's like with Melvin in that situation, I just don't think you waste a running back spot on FanDuel and cash. So right now I'm kind of looking at, obviously you got to monitor the Rams situation too, but right now it's Jonathan Taylor up top. And then I want to get some exposure to like Ronald Jones, Antonio Gibson, Jacobs, Montgomery, Devin Singletary, the guys that I know are RB1s that are going to be out there at least 2 downs, usually 3 down backs. So kind of staying in that mid range. And that's why punting quarterback with Lance is fine, because I'd rather that than punt to a Michael Carter or some of these other guys down below. So it's kind of how I'm seeing it, mid tier to upper tier.
Yeah. And then, over on DraftKings at the running back position, all these guys are actually pretty similarly priced, like across the site. So, I mean, for me, I'm personally looking as it stands now at a lot of this same guys, pending some of this news. Mangone, does anything stand out to you over here?
Yeah, I think you guys all brought up a lot of different good running backs on this slate. And Jonathan Taylor at 9K, like if you have the money, like against the Raiders in the Dome, like it's definitely a great spend up option that I would be considering for sure on this slate, but not something I'm just going to prioritize. I don't think that he's like the jam in guy of the week. I mean, we're just going to have value. I would rather jam in Cooper Kupp over Jonathan Taylor if you force me to pick. So I think Taylor's fine. I like the Montgomery call. He's someone I considered last week, and I know it was a little off the board. And it's just the volume he sees, right? It's just, he gets so much volume in the pass game, in the run game. I was a little worried about just new situation, new quarterback, but I'm not ignoring David Montgomery for sure. He's definitely gonna be someone that I'm considering. Ronald Jones at 6'3" against the Jets, another great option that you can go to, because again, it's good exposure to that Bucs offense against the Jets. We want to target the Jets. It does feel like a good spot to do that. I know the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing definitely is massive, because if he misses, you can make an argument for a guy like a Darrell Williams. The only counter I'll have is they do have a bunch of different guys where they have like Gore, and they can just mix in and do some weird stuff where I think as we get late in this year and with all the COVID stuff and with value getting so strong and there being really good chalk, if there is really good chalk, you have to think about how much risk does this guy have? And I do think there could be some risk to Darrell Williams and downside that you just might not want to embrace. That is something to think about, I think, on the slate. And similar to Boston Scott, like we just know what the Eagles can do. They can just be a disaster. Now, if you tell me Howard's out, like it might make it a little bit easier to roster a Boston Scott, but there is Jalen Hurts who could steal it. And I wouldn't be shocked if they mixed in Gainwell. And who knows if they sign someone off the streets, because that's just what the Eagles do. So that's the one thing I'll mention with some of these running backs is I think by the end of the week, there's going to be a lot of really good running back plays to get in throughout your lineups. And I do want to make sure that I think about the downside too, because I do think the downside is really concerning right now when it comes to your lineups, because you could just have one guy that just sinks your whole team. So that's definitely something I'm thinking about at the running back position, receiver too, pretty much all the positions, but running back specifically for sure, because I do think you're going to have a lot of really good options.
Yeah, there's certainly news that we need to wait on. And, David Montgomery stands out now, but there could be some other big names that we're going to want for sure as the week goes on. So definitely a position where we're going to have to monitor things like always. Wide receiver, we kind of talked about it early on. Title brought it up. Antonio Brown was 4.9 last week. It was a misprice. Big game, could have been even bigger. Well, they went ahead and priced him at 6.1K this week. Not high enough. He's going to be very, very highly owned. Tough to avoid here in this spot against the Jets. Cooper Kupp's at 9.5. Fine option there. You have T. Higgins coming off the monster game, 6.9K. Sounds like the Chargers are going to be without Mike Williams again. So Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen back in the conversation. We need to see what happens with the Bills situation. Are those guys out again? If so, Stephon Diggs is someone that we're going to want to look to. There's going to be news here. Obviously, we have Antonio Brown. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is a great play every week. Mangone, anything else standing out to you at the wide receiver position on DraftKings?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Cooper Kupp stands out for sure. Debo at 8.7, it does feel pricey, but man, I kind of feel better than playing Tyreek Hill, playing him, just because I know he's going to be mixed in throughout that offense. I know Trey Lance is a different situation, and Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely, a quarterback just handing the ball off a ton, it felt like. But I do think that Debo is still going to get some serious work. So not someone I'm going to completely ignore. You can argue that Jamar Chase could have a really good script. Keenan Allen's just been frustrating at that price. I think he's just he just feels like he's a little too expensive to end up going to. Hunter Renfrow will be in the Dome, which will be nice at 6.5K. So I know you can always get behind Hunter Renfrow. Hoop the jersey's not on right now, but on Sunday, will it be on? Can we confirm you'll have the jersey on to own Big T and the Colts?
Yes, I now have 2 jerseys. I got one in the mail yesterday. I have no clue where it came from. Jersey number 2.
There you go. Hang it up. Frame it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to frame this one. Yep.
Frame that one up. Maybe I don't know if Mrs. Hoop will allow it. Maybe take the hoops off. Behind you.
Yeah, I can get double Renfro. How about that? Hoops gone, double Renfro jersey.
That'd be beautiful. You can make arguments for the Seattle guys against Detroit because Detroit's so bad, but like, I don't know. We know what happens when like they're leading. Like Pete Carroll likes to establish it. And I don't know if they'll definitely win, but you do assume that they should be in front some of the game against Detroit, and it's like a game that's winnable, and we could just see Pete Carroll go to his ways. So that would not shock me. Amra St. Brown has had an amazing target share. Like it's been incredible. I think it's like 30% targets for basically, I think like the last 4 weeks it was. So he's someone that even at that price, I think you could get in there, but not someone I'm like jamming in my lineups again. You can make a lot of good arguments for these Arizona receivers. Not something I'm like going out of my way and totally prioritizing. And if you want exposure to the Bucks, like Antonio Brown at 6'1", it's just still too cheap. Like it's a terrible price tag. He should probably be like 7'1" or 7'2" in this spot, especially against the Jets. You could even argue like 7'5" wouldn't be bad for him because of the Jets matchup. I know they're probably going to be leading, but what do the Bucks do? I mean, it's January by now. We know that teams are going to do what they've been doing all year. They're not just going to completely flip and change their offense unless guys are totally taken out of it. And I don't see the Bucks totally changing their offense. Yes, they might run a little bit more than they were, but Antonio Brown is going to have a clear alpha role here. And at 6.1K, he does feel like another guy. We might just plug in again and just kind of move on, Hoop. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but it feels like it could easily go that way.
Yeah, you just play. I think at this point, you just plan on playing Antonio Brown. And honestly, I don't think much changes as the week goes on in regards to him. Like here's the
problem, Hoop. It's like last week. You play Cooper Kupp, you play Antonio Brown, and we just talked about a bunch of receivers. And like, I don't know, you can only roster one, maybe two more in like your cash lineup, or like even if you play like one GBP, of course you can mix and match stuff. But the point we're getting at here is there's some really strong receiver plays, and like, I don't know. It's just, let's say you fade, let's say in GBPs, it's the same as last week. Cooper Kupp's a good play and Antonio Brown's a good play. A simple way to be different is if you just built your team without Cooper Kupp and without Antonio Brown in tournaments. If you did that, your team is just instantly unique. You don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to play some wild, crazy backup tight end or something. Like, it's just a simple way to be unique and still play a really good team, because that's how we saw it with the Joe Burrow team, right? They played the stack. And I mean, unless you're playing like, a Ram stack or like a Brady stack, the problem you're going to have is like, you're going to be gravitating on some of the same plays and then playing a quarterback that's matched up with it and competing with other teams that have those guys. So ultimately fading both those guys, it's definitely a way to like get unique right away. And you can just build out a really smart team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Title, let's talk about the position on FanDuel. And honestly, it is a little bit different. Antonio Brown is 8.5K. Cooper Kupp is 10.2K. There's really, to me, not a lot that initially stands out. I do like Keenan Allen at 7.3K, but it seems like FanDuel is pretty wide open at the wide receiver position. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, FanDuel did a pretty good job, it looks like, initially. Cooper Kupp finally over 10K. We know we can build all-star squads on FanDuel. The pricing's always softer, so I might have the money. If you have the money at 10-2 for Cooper Kupp, definitely he's a good play. Tyreek 8-2, coming off a stinker for sure, but I'm right back on him. I think it's a good spot against Cincinnati. I think there's going to be points scored. There's upside there. Then monitor what's going on with Kelsey. I'm not sure. I'm expecting he probably plays. I haven't heard anything since, but monitor that news. Then there's Stephon Diggs at 8K. I think he makes some sense. He's finally coming on as the years went on. As the year has went on. 8K for Diggs, good price. I think I prefer Tyreek right now, though. Outside of them, Keenan Allen 7.3, CeeDee Lamb 7.2, T Higgins 7K, AJ Brown 7.5. All those guys are pretty much wide receiver one. I mean, AJ Brown coming off a monster on Thursday. T Higgins, obviously. CeeDee Lamb 7.2 and the highest total in a dome. Keenan Allen without Mike Williams. I think all those guys are strong plays in that mid-tier. Michael Pittman at 6.5. I definitely had more interest before Wentz was ruled out. Not sure I'll be able to go there in cash. What is it? Sam Elliger or something like that. Not even sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but I think it's going to be the Jonathan Taylor show. 6.5 for Pittman's too cheap. I'm not sure though, in this role, the unknown is going to be worth it. Joshua Palmer 5.2 though. I mean, yeah, 5.2 for Palmer. There's the value right there at wide receiver. he's actually good too, which I like. Herbert, it's in a dome. They throw the ball. If they focus on Keenan, Palmer makes a ton of sense. A couple more names. DK Metcalf, 6'6". He finally found the box last week. Again, though, I hate playing the Seattle squad. They're out of the playoffs. They have nothing to play for. It's a little scary, but 6'6" finally scored. Then Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, 6.3K. He's showing some upside too against the Rams. Probably are going to be trailing, but see who they roll out at quarterback too, because I like him most if Lamar was. Last guy, Christian Kirk, 6'4". Again, Arizona, no D-Hop for the year. The best game environment. I think he makes some sense too. But again, outside of Palmer, I'm really not seeing any value guys under 6K that I feel too comfortable with. So it's only Tuesday. A lot can change. But if I built today and it locked, I probably would go Lance so I could get some of these good running back and wide receivers.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Let's head to tight end position. Dallas Goedert's 5'8" on FanDuel. I think he's definitely interesting. You have Zach Ertz, 5'5", in a dome, likely trailing here against the Cowboys, who looked really good last week. Kelsey, I'm assuming he returns, 8'2" for Kelsey, 7'3" for George Kittle. Kyle Pitts looked good last week. He's 6K flat. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, those are a few of the names that kind of stand out. Title, what are your thoughts here at tight end?
Kittle 7'3", but yeah, now it's Lance instead of Jimmy G. We know Jimmy G isn't very mobile. He'll check it down. He'll let Kittle. So I think I prefer Kittle with Jimmy Garoppolo, to be honest. So not sure I get there. I think it's fine though. Rob Gronkowski, 6'7". He's coming off a stinker too, but I think that price is fine. You mentioned Goddard, 5'8". Another name, Zach Ertz, 5.5K. I really like that price tag too. I mean, again, no D-Hop. Kyler Murray likes Ertz. He put up a solid score. I know I had a good amount of him on that Saturday slate. I think Ertz at 5.5K. If you don't have the 300 to Goddard, you're spending up at running back, wide receiver. That'd be my preferred pay down. So Kittle 7'3", Gronk 6'7", Goddard 5'8", Ertz 5'5" are the only four I'm really looking at right now. And again, if the slate locked today, I'd probably play Ertz because I'd want to spend up at wide receiver and running back.
Yeah, I think Ertz is a great play this week in the dome too. I mean, that's an underrated aspect at this point in the season where we're getting snow games and cooler temperatures. Someone who's not dealing with the cooler temperatures is our boy Mangone down there in Florida. What do you got here at tight end on DraftKings for us?
Yeah, not until Thursday though, Hoop. I'm scared to find out what happens when I get back to Colorado, but hopefully it's not too bad. But we'll soak it in while we can, right? Because these games are going to start getting ugly, and it's worth talking about that. You got to think about it before you kind of roster guys. Like, I mean, I'm sure some people may have like turned on that Seahawks game and like didn't realize it was even snowing, right? I mean, these games are going to get kind of ugly, and sometimes it can favor the offense, sometimes it can favor the defense. So definitely something to look at. But tight end, Gronk is definitely an interesting guy to talk about. I'm trying to figure out where he plays in this offense because he's obviously going to be an integral part to their playoff run, right? So would you play him these next two games and just beat him up? No, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I assume he plays, but I'm assuming he also doesn't just get ran through the ground and they just like use him. Now, if they need it, sure, but they're going to be up. If he catches an early touchdown, okay, like whatever. I just think currently right now, a Gronkowski fade is fine. I can just get away with it. I can move on. I'd rather probably play even a Cameron Brate for cheaper just because I think they might use him more at the end here to save Gronk. And they're playing the Jets. I mean, if they're up a ton, I don't know. I think it just can make a lot of sense. So that's something that I'm definitely thinking about when rostering my guys. I'm thinking about who's in a playoff race, who needs to actually win these games. And you know who needs to win some games? George Kittle. The only issue is they'll probably be up a lot. You assume they're going to be up on the Texans, but you just never know. And if you are going to play, like let's say you play some Houston guys, definitely run that thing back with Kittle because Kittle will be a huge part of that game if Houston is able to put up points. So definitely want to mention that with Kittle because that's kind of how I roster him. Tougher for me to roster Kyle Pitts, I think, at Buffalo. Matt Ryan in January out of the dome. Doesn't feel like a great idea to get on Matty Ice and Kyle Pitts. So, I think I'm going to be out on that. I don't mind the Zach Ertz idea, but that Dallas defense is good. You do assume that there's likely going to be a pretty good script for Zach Ertz, though. So he's someone I'll definitely be thinking about. The Chargers have been really bad against short yardage stuff, especially tight ends. Is this the week that Noah Fant finally breaks out? Does he have a big game? I mean, he was okay last week. I mean, again, 6 fantasy points, but it wasn't enough to win a GVP or anything. But at his price of 4.4, tight end was gross. I don't know. You could have got away with it maybe in cash games. Tournaments, obviously not. But I think he's someone that if you are considering a like Broncos Chargers stack, it goes back to what we said with the Bengals with Mark Andrews, right? Like putting that Bengals stack with Mark Andrews. If you are going to play a Justin Herbert stack, play that thing with the tight end. Just put in Noah Fant, because I do think it's a decent spot for him that I think you can go to him as an option. And then for cheap, it's like, man, like Cole Kmet's not terrible at 3-4, but like I'm not itching to do it. I don't know. There's not a lot of cheap guys though. Like I think it depends if obviously you're going to fill out tight end more later in your cash games and tournaments. I like more so correlating it with my quarterback if I can, or in some type of secondary stack, but you can make an argument that if the value is good or there's just like really obvious plays that you need to play and punting tight end is the construction, you just go ahead and do that. Because I don't think there's a standout at the top that you just want to slam into your lineups. You might have the salary to go up to some tight ends, but there's just not like this standout guy that you need to go up and pay for, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, it doesn't seem like a priority position where you need to prioritize anyone at this point. Could change as the week goes on. As it stands now, probably one of the last spots that I fill out. Let's get some quick thoughts at defense. I mean, I pulled it up. I'm not really seeing much. I mean, the Bears at home against the Giants are 3.2K on DraftKings. Like if I can get them in without sacrificing much, that's probably where I'd go at this point. Giants offense is just dead. I mean, just dead. And playing in Chicago is a tough spot. But outside of them, nothing really stands out. Any quick thoughts, Mangone, at tight end or defense? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Didn't Mike Glennon, was he a Bear? Is it a Mike Glennon revenge game? Is that what you're going against, or am I thinking of that wrong?
Yeah, didn't they start? They started the other dude last week. Didn't they start the Fromm dude?
Well, they did, and then they switched.
Yeah,
and during the game, Glennon came back in, but they might give Glennon the revenge game. They might let him get it.
Practice squad revenge game or what?
I'm just saying, the title. I mean, listen, you got it. Whenever they were there, even Karis LeVert, we talked about with the Rockets revenge, right? They said no to him, so you always got to call it out for the people. The people love the narrative. So I do think though you are correct too. Like Bears defense makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, you can easily go to them against the Giants. Obviously, there could be a quarterback in there that you're like, okay, like this quarterback is now a really bad quarterback and he's the starter. And like, let me just go this defense. So defense is something you probably go and you fill out later on. It's not the priority position, but it does win GVP. So like if everyone is spending down on one defense, don't feel like you need to just plug in that defense because it's a 14-game slate. There's a lot of variance to that position. And in tournaments, there's definitely merit to going off the board at your defensive position, especially on weeks. Like last week, I thought it was a good week to go really off the board on defense. And the reason why I thought it was a good week to try and find a lower owned defense is if you're plugging in a lot of really good chalk options, that's just a quick way to be different with your lineup. And there's just so much randomness to the position. So definitely think about that when you're kind of, constructing your lineups.
Title, anything stand out on FanDuel? It looks like they priced up a lot of the good ones this week. Quick thoughts at defense?
Probably similar to last week. I'm expecting quarterbacks to be ruled out. Last week, Falcons and Bengals became popular because it was Tim Boyle, Josh Johnson.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is going down. Jimmy Garoppolo is already down. Expecting stuff to stay the same, and whoever's cheap, it gets a backup quarterback is probably where I'll land.
Yeah, Raiders are 3-4. I mean, that's the one. I mean, they obviously get a big boost if you want to punt. But yeah, some of the better defenses are closer to like 5K on FanDuel.
Yeah, the only thing is like I wouldn't eat that Raiders, like if just say Raiders with chalk and cash, whatever. I wouldn't do that in tournaments because like they're gonna hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor 30 plus time. The upside just isn't there. So tournaments, if everyone's going cheap, fine to spend up. There's gonna be defenses in good spots. They might be expensive, but there's going to be a defense that's going to put up a big boy, I think. So definitely, like Mangone said, do not. I wouldn't eat chalk on defense unless it really makes a lot of sense, you think?
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to mention, because I think this matters with chalk sometimes. Some chalk is better than others on weeks, right? And like if you told me Ian Book, right, was in a spot, just was absolutely a spot he's going to get smashed. Well, I would consider, right, the Dolphins last night, if they were on the main slate, I would consider them more in tournaments because them as chalk is a little bit different than other weeks because we have all these really awful quarterbacks. I mean, we have absolutely terrible guys playing and for good reason. Guys are giving different looks. There's the COVID stuff going on. So there could be a chalk defense that is in like an insanely good spot. And if they are though, then you have to think about the other positions in your lineup and just make sure you are being different in another spot. because you are going to run into, in the last 2 weeks, you're going to run into some really bad quarterbacks out there slinging the rock. So, and like you said, Ted, I thought you brought up a great point with the Colts. You don't want a guy that's handing the ball off. You want a guy that's dropping back, because if you're not dropping back, you're not getting opportunity. And I know we believe in talent in DFS, but opportunity beats out talent. We've rostered so many players that are bad. Opportunity is everything. And you want your quarterback dropping back, and you want him throwing the ball so it turns into turnovers and turns into points.
Very strong point. Very strong point. That's going to do it for the first look, week 17. The rest of our content will obviously roll out throughout the week. You got to stay tuned to everything. This day and age, I mean, tons of news breaks all week long. So make sure you're staying up to date on the news. We can help you with that. Get in our Discord channel. Check out our content. We have all the information that you'll need to make winning DFS lineups. We've got an free NBA bet show with Mangone. They're on 3:30 Eastern. After that, we have our NBA hardwood show. I think it's me, Mangone, in DC at 4:45 Eastern. So make sure to check out that as well. But we're going to get on out of here. We'll be back next week with the week 18 first look. See you guys next week. For Title, Mangone, I'm Hoop. Good luck.